these rooms present themselves as empty. The few objects which remain are what little I have on my own, and in a month they'll disappear. In art, negative space is a principle all its own. It finds its equivalent within the sciences, black matter, antimatter, and within theoretical medicine, philosophy, and theology, you have what is called the other, and sometimes we call it God. In literature, apophasis is a rhetorical device which draws more attention to a subject by attempting to dismiss it. Like when someone says, "I'm not going to mention God." The syntax requires the presentation of the subject in order to ignore it. If there was no God, there's nothing to dismiss, nothing to bring awareness to. The emphasis would not be there. The majority of the sentence, "I'm not going to mention," is the negative space which emphasizes the subject. However, when on the subject of God, it is more common for God to be that provocative negative space which defines us, not the other way around. Right? When I walk into these rooms, I feel simultaneously insignificant and important. My best friend has left this empty space here, and I will be living within it for a month like it's a goddamn Marina Abramovic performance piece. I mention my best friend moving out because it's precisely the fact that this space was once inhabited by her that gives this emptiness so much meaning. And then the emptiness continues to further define my position within it as almost absurd. Clarice Lispector once spoke about the provocateur that is empty space in her book, The Passion According to G.H. The room had a calm and empty order. It was an entirely clean and vibrant room, as in an insane asylum from which dangerous objects have been removed. Clarice recognized that where there is nothing we can see or define, there is fear. And this fear so warps our perception as to have us believe something is there even, something hidden, something dangerous. My best friend is not a dangerous object which has been removed, but a loved one, whose spirit persisted half-heartedly in the air. The negative space within these rooms makes me miss my friend. She's known to me. But as days pass, her spirit disperses and I'm left with a danger I cannot name, which her memory once distracted with its rare perfume. Now I am faced with a void much larger than I can handle. The negative space, the dark matter, the other part of my life I have yet to live, the other part of myself I have yet to know. I realized a while ago that I was fated to stand here at the threshold between me and the sublime other, and be receptive to whatever I may find once I enter the other side, my own destruction even. You are here. You are alive, it says. You can do whatever you want. You have control. I anticipated having freedom is not what I fantasized about. To think about it and to actually live it are two very different things. My friend knew about the truths of freedom better than most people, and I'm proud to say that all of my friends are exceptionally strong-willed women. The child among them is me, however, trying to mature and make sense of things. I figure only something as singularly perfect as the unknown could produce a completeness out of control and helplessness. And it is my job to figure out how all that computes, even if I can't achieve completeness in my lifetime. At the present moment, all I can manage to do is stare out blindly. How heavy is the empty space? How large and contradictory? Its gravity pressing me, forging me into a savage, dark silhouette. What is the difference between loss and gain anymore? Of all that I cannot have, I have gained as much. For the dark figure that moves about the profuse white holds as much potency as that which surrounds it. Though things look disparaged to the eye, everything ultimately ends up equal. But we all know better than to only trust what we can see. It's hard to deal with the possibilities. The emptiness is here in these rooms like an innocent idea. I try to assess it within the closed environment that is this apartment, but I know once I leave here, the idea can become real and therefore have the ability to harm me or others. An idea manifest can grow into a mutant, grotesque thing, and all the while you feel like you're doing the right thing. Having the rest of my life before me and self-endowed with the supreme ability to choose, is a horror. Not because of not knowing what to do, but of not knowing what will happen when you do something. Clarice once said something like, "To choose is to say no to everything else." A vast abyss of possibility becomes siphoned into something lesser somehow. The negative space becomes all the things you said no to. It took me a while to realize that freedom is not freedom at all, but just choosing what is left to the void and what is not. Having the ability to choose places a person within the role of something omnipotent, but such autonomy can only be transmuted into something as feeble as power. Power is for humans. God knows nothing of itself, does not bother to situate itself within the first or second half of a sentence. I'd say the primary difference between me and God is that only I weep at my losses and am horrified by my gains. To maintain the composure of the all-knowing is something my condition forbids me. And if it weren't so, then I wouldn't be thinking about any of this. I would already have all my answers. If I were to look at what had been lost without grief, and at what I had gained without horror and sometimes pride, I would become absorbed in the nothing, and things of this world would never charm me again. Everything would become the same, everything lost, not some. But why loss? Invariably, human life requires loss. It's no negotiation. I'm sure there are those who mourn for the unborn. I realize it would be naive of me to dismiss them. The unborn are always there. Their wailing is heard, and there are far more unborn than there are living. Sometimes I wish I couldn't hear that sound, that I didn't notice negative space was something you could feel. What is missing always needs alluded to, even when we hope to deny it. This results in the pulsating topography that is human life. Each one of us at some point in time lives as the chosen thing, offered meaning, and then endures a loss. Each of our stories requires the void to bring us into being, and it is maturity to accept our inevitable receding back into it. I must be very cynical after all, to look at an empty room and see loss as the greater sum. Much of my recent adult life has been warped by fear of the unknown. Equally menacing, my childhood was filled with demons and intruders hidden within the dark corners of my room. I chose to look within the nothingness and find horror, loss, and death. I chose. Empty rooms had and still have this insidious feeling like something forbidden is close enough for you to touch, and I can barely stand that. As I've gotten older, I don't fear the demons and the intruders anymore. I taught myself to look away, to say they aren't there. But the fear remains. It just doesn't have a name anymore. When will I look into the emptiness and be hopeful? When will I finally get it that the emptiness is not a loss or a danger, but is a representation of your choice? Loss or gain are the same, because whatever the outcome is, I chose it. That alone should bring me joy. But what I have learned most from my best friend, who left me with these empty rooms, is that you must go on. You must make your choices. Risk the loss. The greatest freedom is to choose what you give to the void or what you save from it. That supreme human choice, to weep or cheer.